Hey, what is up internet? Josh here, and today I'm bringing you a really fun tutorial. We're going to be creating animal hybrids in Photoshop. So animal hybrids, super fun. You've probably seen them floating around the internet. It's just compositing two images of different animals together inside of Photoshop to create a new creature. So I'm going to show you my techniques to create two different animal hybrids today. If you want to get your hands on the project files that I'm working with, they'll be available for my patrons on Patreon. Let's take a look. All right, so this is the final image of our first animal hybrid. It's an iguana spliced together with an eagle. So let me break it down. So we start with an iguana and an eagle. And in this case, both of them are profile, which is perfect. You want to make sure when you're selecting images that both animals are kind of facing the same direction. And if it's the same or similar lighting, even better. I'm actually going to drop the eagle layer on top of the lizard. And I think what I want to do is just add the beak of the eagle to the lizard. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the black around our eagle. So I'm going to go up to Select and Mask, and I'm going to hit this Select Subject button up at the top here. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit OK, just leave everything, all the settings on default. And that did a fairly good job of cutting out our eagle. So all the stuff that matters, the beak, all the detail around the beak looks really clean, so I'm happy with that. Let's turn the lizard layer back on, and with the eagle layer selected, I'm going to decrease the opacity so that we can see where our eagle falls on the lizard. So I'm going to hit Command T, and that's going to free transform our eagle layer. And I'm going to rotate it so that it kind of matches up with the mouth of our lizard. And I'm going to just grab a corner and scale it down. And I'm just gonna mess with the size until I get it kind of where I want it. And I want the crease of the mouth to line up a little bit. I'm gonna hit Enter on my number pad, and that's going to solidify my transformation. Let's bring the opacity back up, and we're going to start erasing some parts of the eagle here. So I already have a mask applied, so I'm going to click on my mask on the eagle layer. I'm going to hit D to reset my swatches. I want those to be black and white. And with black as my foreground color, I'm going to start painting out the eagle. And of course I'm masking here, so this is all non-destructive. Now the thing about feathers is that they usually feather out quite nicely. So that actually doesn't look half bad for just quickly doing that. I'm going to change the hardness of my brush to 50%. Before I had it on 0, so it was very, very soft. And I'm just gonna work on this edge just a little bit. That's not looking too bad. All right, so if you look at this, it looks a little strange because you have some shadows underneath the beak and no shadow on the lizard itself. So we want to fix that. So we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to put this layer underneath of the eagle layer, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to select a brush. I'm going to set the opacity to 50% and the flow to 10%. And that's just going to limit the output of our brush. And then I'm going to make a fairly large brush, and the bottom of the brush is just going to go right underneath that beak. And what I'm doing is I'm just creating a shadow underneath of that, just to blend the two images together a bit. Right there. Now you'll notice I got a lot of black up in here, so I'm just going to switch to an eraser tool Just hit E on the keyboard, and I'm gonna feather out the shadow I do not want. Very nice. Let's zoom out a little bit. And that looks pretty good. Now there are other things you can do to kind of blend it some more. We can go to our adjustment tools and do hue and saturation. And we can play with saturation a little bit. And if we hit this button right here, that will apply this hue saturation adjustment just to the layer directly below it. So now we can just play with the color and saturation and lightness of just the beak. I'm looking at the fins and some of this coloration in the scales, and it's kind of orange. So I think I want to change the color slightly so it matches that color a bit. And there you have it. There is our iguana bird creature. That looks pretty good. All right, let's switch to our second project. So our second one is an owl spider. This is definitely creepy, but let's see how to do this here. All right, so we have our owl photo and we have our spider photo. Again, you want to make sure that they're facing generally the same direction with similar lighting. And I'm just gonna go ahead and create a mask on our owl layer. And with our brush tool selected, I'm just gonna start erasing. I wanna make sure my flow and opacity are up all the way again at 100%. And I'm just gonna start erasing what I don't want to use here. Okay, and I'm gonna drop the opacity, and I'm gonna start lining up this guy. You can see this black line of feathers right here. So I kind of want that to sit right about here so that it's kind of a natural transition. Now the great thing about this photo that's gonna make this edit easier is if you notice how blurry the background is and how shallow the depth is on this image, it's gonna make fading the edges of this owl and blending it into the spider that much easier. Let me show you what I mean. So with our brush, we're going to, I think we're gonna stick with 50% hardness actually. And we're gonna start masking this owl's head. So you'll notice that the coloring between the spider and the owl are very different, so we want to take care of that next. So to adjust the coloring of the owl in this scenario, I'm actually going to create a new layer, and I'm going to hit I for the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to zoom in and select a color of orange from the spider. And next I'm going to select a brush, and I'm just going to paint right on top of the owl's head. And I'm gonna go to my blending options, and I'm gonna select soft light. Next, you're gonna adjust the opacity down just a little bit. So next, I'm gonna select the owl layer, and let's drop an adjustment layer on him. Let's do levels. And I'm gonna play with the exposure of just the owl's head. So to do that, let's apply this just to the owl layer. And lastly, let's drop a color balance adjustment layer on there, and we'll give them a little more yellow, maybe a touch more red. And that's looking pretty good. So matching color tones between animals is super important if you want your image to look realistic. So just keep playing around with it until you get something that looks good. That's pretty much all for me, guys. If you enjoyed this, give it a big ol' thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All those links are in the description. And if you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon. That's patreon.com/JoshMcDarris. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.